Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's been a couple weeks since I did my last video, but I wanted to try something a little bit different this week, so that is what I've got for you today. Today I'm going to be making some pesto swirls. I found this recipe on the BBC website, so I just wanted to show you how I followed the recipe and what changes I made that helped me out. So first you're going to start with a large mixing bowl, and you want to add 450 grams of strong white bread flour, 7 grams of fast action yeast, and that's also the same amount that's in a normal sachet of fast action dried yeast, 1 teaspoon of caster sugar and 1.5 teaspoons of fine salt. So you want to mix that together, then you want to add 280 millilitres of warm water, and then add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. In my electric mixer, I'm then mixing it until it starts to form a dough and sort of clumps together. If you're mixing it by hand, you want to do the same thing, but this is going to take around 10 to 15 minutes by hand. It will take about 5 minutes in a mixer, so I would really recommend using a mixer if you have one, but if you haven't, just keep going with it. And obviously you're not going to be mixing it after it's all clumped together, you want to be kneading it. I have noticed if it's a little bit dry, add the remaining of the water, but add it 1 teaspoon at a time and let it mix in, because I did make a mistake of adding too much water and then I had to add some more flour, so just go really slow with adding your water. I'm then taking it out of the bowl because I need to clean my bowl ready for proofing. So I just took it out and I did just want to knead it by hand a little bit, and it just sort of was to test the consistency. What I did was I broke a small piece off and sort of rolled it between my hands, and it felt very elasticy, which was great, which is exactly what you want, and you don't want it to be too sticky at all at this stage. So you want it to be sort of springy, elasticy, and not too sticky. So now I've got my clean bowl, and I'm just putting some olive oil in the bottom and making sure that the sort of lower part of the bowl is coated with olive oil. You then want to take your dough ball and place it into the bowl and make sure all sides are covered with olive oil. So I just put it in face down and then turned it back face up. Then you want to cover it with cling film, nice and tight, and let it proof for between 1 and 3 hours. I put it on the windowsill, as I find in the metal bowl it works really well on a windowsill. I'm then just lining my baking tin with some baking parchment, ready for me to put the swirls into. Then you want to take out your dough from your bowl onto a floured surface and beat together to make sure that all the oil is sort of combined in the mixture rather than just on top. And then you want to roll it out. You want to roll it out into a rectangle about 30 by 40 centimetres. Try and make it as square as possible, just because this will make the most of the ends of what will be the roll. Then I'm adding 150 grams of pesto. I'm adding 240 grams of semi-dried tomatoes. Now I didn't chop these, but I would recommend you do, just because it makes them easier to sort of section later. I'm adding 100 grams of grated mozzarella, and you want to use pre-grated mozzarella for this, so the one that you sort of get in a packet rather than fresh mozzarella, just because fresh mozzarella will just be too wet for this recipe. Then I'm adding 50 grams of pecorino, or you can use parmesan, but pecorino is the vegetarian option, and a handful of fresh basil. You then, from the longer end, want to roll your dough up, a bit like a Swiss roll or a roulade, I suppose. And then you want to cut it into 12 equal strips, so down the middle and then into 6 on each side. Don't worry, I wasn't just cutting onto my worktop here, I was stopping just before I got to the bottom. I was basically just trying to cut through the tomatoes. Then you want to lay them into your pre-lined baking tray in a 3x4 formation. So something I missed out here in showing you is you want to leave this to prove. So cover with cling film and leave it to prove for about an hour. Then preheat your oven to 200 degrees or 180 degrees if you have a fan oven. You want to uncover the swirls and place them into the middle shelf of the oven for 35 to 40 minutes or until golden brown. And that is it. They were turned out really, really nice. I just put some fresh basil over them and then reheated them when I ate them and had them as sort of single portions, but they turned out really good. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll be back next week with another savoury bake.